All right, let's dive into an idea about wealth that might sound, well, kind of backward. We're talking about the surprising and really strategic frugality of some of the richest people on the planet.
So, when I say the words billionaire spending, what image pops into your head? Come on, just for a second. Because for most of us, I bet it's a pretty specific and pretty glamorous set of pictures. Maybe you're thinking private jets, right? Zipping across the globe on a whim without ever having to even think about the cost. Or maybe it's those massive yachts, the ones that are basically floating apartment buildings, docked somewhere like Monaco.
Yeah, in a word, it's just pure, unfiltered luxury. A life completely free from any kind of financial worry. But what if I told you that for many of the people who actually built these massive fortunes, that picture is almost completely wrong? That some of the wealthiest people in history are actually obsessed with not wasting money. Not because they're cheap, but because they understand something fundamental about what money is for that most of us miss.
So let's actually dig into this. We're going to look at 5 specific people and pull out 5 lessons in frugality from the very folks you'd least expect to be frugal.
First up, the Oracle of Omaha himself, Warren Buffett. This is a guy who famously still lives in the same house he bought back in 1958. And this quote, it's not just some nice motivational poster fluff. It's a genuine blueprint. What he's really talking about is a core principle: capital allocation. See, Buffett didn't get rich by spending money and then seeing what was left over. He flipped that script entirely. He built the habit of paying his future self first. To him, saving isn't a sacrifice, it's the number one, top priority, strategic thing you do with your money. Okay, next up, Mark Cuban. Long before he was a billionaire on Shark Tank, he was known for being incredibly frugal. And his advice is so brilliantly down to earth. He basically says, the best guaranteed return on your money isn't some hot stock tip. It's getting rid of your high interest debt. And this is the crucial part. For Cuban, saving isn't about playing defense or being conservative. It's about buying something incredibly valuable: power. Every dollar you save, every bit of debt you clear, buys you flexibility. It buys you the freedom to take a calculated risk on a business or an idea later on. It's an offensive move, not a defensive one. Now, let's talk about Bill Gates. In the early days of Microsoft, he was not focused on looking rich. Not at all. His entire world revolved around a single question: how do I build something that grows on itself? How do I make this company bigger and more valuable? And this is just a perfect illustration of what's called delayed lifestyle inflation. Instead of cashing out to buy fancy cars and mansions, Gates and his team just plowed every spare dollar right back into the company. It was that discipline, treating money as a tool for compounding growth instead of just personal spending, that turned a tiny software startup into a global titan. And then, you've got maybe the most extreme example of all: Elon Musk. I mean, think about it. After he sold PayPal and made an absolute fortune, he didn't go retire on an island. He went all in, reinvesting practically everything into 2 unbelievably risky companies, SpaceX and Tesla. It got so tight, he reportedly had to borrow money just to pay for his living expenses. Now, that is a radical way to think about money. For Musk, money isn't about comfort or status. It's just fuel. It's a resource that you protect and gather up so you can pour it in massive amounts on these huge bets you really believe in. It's not about hoarding, it's about concentrating your firepower for a single purpose. Finally, let's look at Ingvar Kamprad, the founder of IKEA. The guy was legendary for his personal frugality, flying economy, driving an old Volvo, even telling employees to use both sides of a piece of paper. But this wasn't just some weird personal quirk. It was the entire company's strategy in a nutshell. See, Camprod's whole philosophy was that every single penny saved wasn't just a penny in the bank. It was a strategic weapon. By being absolutely relentless about cutting costs everywhere, IKEA could offer lower prices to customers, and that is what fueled their global dominance. Frugality was their secret weapon. So, let's zoom out here. When you line up all 5 of these stories, this really powerful pattern starts to emerge. And you realize it's not really about saving money at all. Most people, we save emotionally. We do it when we're scared about the future or when we're flat broke and have no choice. It's a reaction. But these guys, they save strategically. It's a proactive, planned move. Their whole approach to money is just wired differently. For them, saving was never the goal. It was just preparation. It was a way to build up leverage, to maintain that flexibility like Cuban talked about, to stay away from the drag of bad debt, to be able to reinvest aggressively like Gates and Musk, and to protect their capital so they were ready for the really big opportunities. Saving was always just step one.
And this brings us right to the core lesson here. If you take just one thing away from all this, it should be this single, powerful idea. Let's be really, really clear about this. Simply saving your money, no matter how good you are at it, is not going to make you a billionaire. That's not the promise here. But here's the flip side, and it's the real truth. Not understanding the purpose of money, not seeing it as a tool, well, that pretty much guarantees you won't build significant wealth. The real lesson from these 5 giants isn't about being frugal. It's about being intentional. They use their capital with a purpose, not randomly. And so that leaves us with a final question to think about. When you look at your own finances, are you treating your money like a tool you can build something with? Or is it just an expense waiting to happen? The difference in that mindset, well, it changes everything.